Hello, Internet. Welcome to Two and a Half Brains. This is our weekly Amazing Race recap for the Amazing Race Season 34, Episode 7. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. You can like our Facebook page, facebook.com/pavementroadprod. You can also email the show directly at pavementroadproductions@gmail.com. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. We have a Survivor show coming out here as well. It's been a little bit of a rough week with feeling a little bit under the weather, with the weather changing back and forth a bunch. So not feeling the best. So I'm gonna have Jessica kind of lead this one, and then we'll see about the Survivor one. If I have a voice left, we'll do that one as well. If not, we'll push it off a couple days. But let's go ahead and get started. I'll bring in Jessica. Jessica, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Are you ready to lead this week?
I can surely try.
All right, great.
I don't know who Shirley is, though.
Yeah, I don't know. You can try and kind of do it so I can say my voice to the Survivor show if I can.
Okay, that's fine. You're still going to talk a lot, but we'll see.
So, take it away.
Take it away, and away we go. So, amazing race recap race amazing. So today they were in the south of France. Do you want to talk about your initial thoughts, or you want me to just kind of delve into it so you can save your voice?
Yeah, not really much to talk about. I mean, they went on the same plane to obviously charter flight to south of France, and then they did the tasks, and they left obviously in 4 groups in 15-minute increments.
Yes,
yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Anything else for you?
I don't think so. Definitely interesting to see who finished where in the groups and everything, and we can probably just get down into everything.
Sounds good.
So starting with the roadblock, who wants to climb the family tree? So this was a rappelling off of a castle. Well, because they said the south of France was known for their castles. It was like the castles, 1001 castles, because there's 1001 castles in South France. But so they had to go to a castle. They had to go up to the top. There was basically a room where they went to go rappel and a room with the answers. The room with the answers was a giant family tree. It had different crests with names. You could go study that first, rappel down, and then you had to match the crest pictures with the names that were listed there. Most teams did the smart thing where they started to look, but instead they rappelled down, saw what they needed to actually study, and then went back up, rappelled back down, and then tried it again. Some teams took more than that second try, but it definitely was better to do it that way if you could know what to memorize at that point.
For sure.
The rappelling was fun. It seemed like you just kind of could just scooch on down. They would just lower you down as you went, but at least it wasn't bungee jumping or anything like that. That would have been all you.
Yeah, that would not have been me at all. It would have been neither of us.
Would have been a penalty.
Most likely.
All right. Anything else about that?
No, it was interesting. Like I said, they had the family tree, and obviously the women who married into the family, it was their crest that they had to study. So they didn't really know what to study a lot of times, because a lot of them, it's the same family tree, so it's the same crest, but it's the crest of the women who married into the family is what they had to study. And they had some interesting ways of learning it and memorizing it. They had like different, naming conventions and whatnot.
Yeah, that's funny. Jean likes her chapstick. Jean likes her brows. That was funny.
Yeah.
I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, it was quite funny.
Yeah. But, I guess seeing the teams that go through it kind of did it in the fashion that I anticipated they would, or the many times that I thought they would go through, but didn't seem like any team really struggled too hard.
No, everybody pretty much did in 2 or 3.
Yeah.
For sure.
Right. Alrighty. Moving on next to the detour. Walnut Cracker or Medieval Gamer. So Walnut Cracker, basically you would go to the area where it's like a grove of walnut trees. They're picking walnuts up off the ground. They would have to work together to crack the walnuts and then press them through. It's like a grinder to get the oil from the walnut. You had to fill a jar up to a specific line. You get that, you got the clue to the pit stop. It seemed like basically every team picked that except for a couple. So Team Miami decided to choose the other game, the Medieval Gamer. That one is there were 3 games that you had to complete. for like during the Renaissance. You can complete it in any order. So one game, there was a wall. It had many holes in the wall, and then there was like kind of a pulley system where you're trying to bring a ball up the wall to a hole at the very top. But if you're not moving it in the right way, that ball will fall through one of the other holes, then you'd have to basically start all over again. So you have to get to the top without letting it fall through another hole first.
Yeah, the cool thing about that one was one person couldn't really see, so the person moving it had to be directed by the person in front of the board.
Yeah. So you had to guide your partner to get the ball up the chain, and either I think that would definitely be difficult to complete if you're not seeing what you're doing, but it was probably one of the harder ones out of those games. Their next game that they could complete is basically throwing a sack onto the top of a pole with a platform, which takes me to Survivor because we see that stuff all the time on there. So that's all I thought about.
The wall one too. They've done that one a bunch of times in Survivor too. The only difference is the person who did it can see it. Usually, it's not like I'd love to see Survivor do it the other way, where the person, like your teammate, has to direct you.
Right. Well, normally they've done the table with the thing and stuff too, but
that too.
Not to get too much into Survivor. But it just reminded me of that.
Me too.
And then the last one that they completed was basically a balancing board. So it was like a circular balance, and then you had rocks, and you had to work with your partner to balance all of the rocks on it without them falling off. So if you put a rock on one side, your partner would want to put a rock exactly on the opposite side of that circle, and figuring out the weight of the rocks compared to the other ones and putting them on it all at the same times so that nothing would tip over and fall.
It reminded me of Indiana Jones when he had to put the bag of sand on the platform when he took the skull off.
Right. That didn't work out too well for him now, did it?
No, it did not. Not at all.
As we just watched that recently. Right. But yeah, that's true.
Not for the first time.
Not for the first time, no. Watched it again recently. So Team Miami chose that to do the medieval gamer first, then they ended up switching to go to the walnut one. They were having a hard time with the wall, with the holes. And I could see that one is a little bit more difficult if you're not good at explaining what to do. If you don't know your right from your left at certain times and you're trying to do something, that would be difficult. So they switched to the walnuts, and then on the opposite section, Derek and Claire were at the walnuts, but so was almost everybody else. So they decided to switch to the medieval games, which worked out for them because they got through it pretty easily. It was kind of simple for them to get through it, working together on that. Yep. And then Glenda and Lumumba, they also picked that one, and they didn't seem to struggle too hard with it either, from what they showed.
Yeah, it was one of those things where if you think you're gonna, the games are more fun, I think, and it's one of those things where if you do it really well, you can get an advantage. But I think the one that was more simple and straightforward was the walnut one, which is the one I would have done. Yeah. But the other one is more fun. I think it's like Claire and Derek said, you can take a risk to do that one because it's a higher variance. Mm-hmm. And if you do it really well, then you can win. If you do really badly, you could be out. Right. And they, fortunately for them, they did it really well.
I mean, the medieval gamer too, you don't know what you're getting into, and you don't know if you have the skill set that you're going to be able to do it. Like, I don't know if I could see the twins doing that one and throwing the stuff on the platform. I don't know, not to say that they couldn't, but I guess they're shorter. I'm saying like height-wise or something, being taller would be helpful for that. I mean, like I said, the medieval gamer one took skill, and the walnut cracker one is just definitely kind of endurance, or more, it's like just to the grind, like just get it done. You just keep going until it's done.
Yeah, kind of more attention to detail and just straightforward.
Right, exactly.
And Claire said she did shot put, so throwing that thing was similar hand motion at least.
Yes, this is my favorite thing when people compare it, but I guess it's fine. It's similar, but yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else?
I think that's it, unless you have anything else to add.
Nope, I think I added it.
All right. You think you added it?
I think I did.
Okay, that's fine. All right, moving on to the who got eliminated this week. Kind of no surprise, I guess, was Glenda Lumumba.
Thankfully, you don't have to say his name anymore.
I know, I was just trying to say it right, so I'm trying
Lumumba.
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 Exactly, I was thinking la Lumumba. There you go. Well, now that I learned it, I don't have to say it again. So they were eliminated. They left in the last group they left in the last group today, so they already set it as a disadvantage. They left 45 minutes after everybody else. Why did they get eliminated? I guess attention to detail, like I said before, they never really argued that badly. Also, they crashed their car into a ditch. Even though they said it only took them about 5 minutes to get out, they were already lost at that point too. So that kind of deterred them more with their time. It slowed them down. They always pressed on, which was good to see. They really didn't give up. They always just gave it their all until the end. And, I think it just attention to detail and falling behind really hurt them, and they just couldn't pull themselves up from being behind.
Yeah, I think they did decently well in the challenges. Even most of the season, they really did pretty well in the challenges. It was just the other things. They didn't really argue either. But it was like that they did really bad navigation. They made really silly mistakes. Attention to detail. Usually is what does you in on the Amazing Race. And they had some bad attention to detail. They got lost. Everybody got lost this week. Everybody had trouble navigating this week. Obviously they felt like crashed into a ditch. And then that cost them a little bit of time, and they were, I don't know how far, they didn't seem like they were that far behind last place. Obviously when you're behind, you have to, especially in recent seasons with everybody kind of, leaving at the same time, leaving 15 minutes apart, whatever, that kind of thing. If you fall behind, it's hard to catch up because you're 15 minutes behind. But you're only 15 minutes behind. But it's hard to catch up unless you run a really good race. If you have any mistakes, it hurts you. The biggest thing I think hurt them this week too, for me, that I noticed, teams who were ahead of them that struggled were the first and second place, like third place teams. The teams that did really well were the fifth and sixth teams. Right.
So they didn't get an opportunity to catch up at all.
Exactly, because they're the teams who did. If the teams fifth and sixth teams would have struggled, they would have been like, okay, they could have caught them. Those teams did great. It was the top teams who had, and the team that had a 45-minute lead struggled, but who cares?
It's because last week how it all ended up is just odd because Molly and Emily and Marcus and Michael finished fifth and sixth, so they were easily able to gain some time. But the first and second team Miami, and then the dancers, it was crazy that they were first and second.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
for sure. And as I said, it was the worst thing that could happen for Glendale and Lumumba is that the weakest teams finished higher.
Yeah,
and had the biggest advantage. I said I think the dancers or if even the cheerleaders are fifth and sixth when they leave, I think that Glendale and Lumumba are fine because I think they may have enough time to make up 15 minutes, but they couldn't make up 45 minutes, and that was the problem.
Yeah, no, agreed. I agree. I know we've talked about it before, how you said with previous Amazing Race, and I mean previous ones that I've watched with you before COVID, that everybody gets to the same spot and they all have to wait until it opens and then they begin. I kind of wish they'd go back to that because at this point it's just time that's helping everybody and not their actual skill sets.
Completely agreed, and that's been a problem with the last couple seasons, and it sucks, but it kind of is what it is. If you fall behind, you're pretty much screwed unless you can really overcome or get a big break or somebody really messes up ahead of you. It's hard to catch up, and that's kind of how it was last few seasons, unfortunately. But hopefully, if there's Amazing Race 35, hopefully it's post-COVID, it's back to the normal that used to be before. Right. I think the Amazing Race kind of likes it like this because there's less production, less travel costs, less, all those things, more control over the game as opposed to just, a bad taxi cab driver. The teams are kind of in their own hands, but at the same time, if you get 45 minutes behind somebody else, it's going to be really hard to catch them. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem. So. Yeah,
but how would it be less production now? I mean, they still drove themselves and everything with the previous ones.
So I mean, yeah, they did, but they also had taxis. They also would take 3 different flights. Sometimes, if you get to the airport first, you could take the first 2 flights. If you get the airport last, you get another flight. So those kinds of things. So that was, that there was a lot more into it. They had taxis. They had to kind of follow the teams all over the world at different times as opposed to and there's in a taxi you have the taxi, you have a producer with a camera. This one you can kind of have them drive themselves and put it a little camera in there with them. You have to have an actual person there with them too. So there's a lot of things that go into it. production side of it.
I mean, I don't know, not to get too much in the production side, because there's still definitely vans that follow them around. Otherwise, how would they get Glenda and Lumumba outside of their car when it would crash to the ditch? So,
Yeah.
I mean, they're being followed by teams and everything else. And, the cost of travel would be the same, because instead of everybody being on one flight, you're just splitting them up into different flights. It's just different flights. But we don't have to get too much into it. I kind of miss the old way of it, but, we'll see what happens going forward.
Yeah, I know. I know. I don't know if they like it better or not. It's my speculation, because I feel like it's tighter.
Yeah.
Somebody's on a flight to France, and they have to have a camera crew in France ahead of them, and then they're flying from Germany. So you have to have the crew in Germany. You have to have a crew in France. You have to have people following them on the flights. So I think it's. But I really liked when they were able to split it up, and you get to the airport first. You on the first flight, you on the second, you're on the second flight, you on the third, third flight, and now you're and then you all get the gate first for the first task. You all get there at the same time, so now you're all starting at the same spot.
Yeah.
That's not really been the case. That's been really hard for the teams who are behind to catch up.
Right. But anyways, who got eliminated? Glenda and Lumumba.
Lumumba.
La Bamba, whatever. But yeah, I mean, anything else to add with that? I think, we agree, attention to detail. Then once they fell behind, they just couldn't pick themselves up.
Yeah, they once they fell behind, they were behind for the last few legs, and they were really doing well. I mean, they started off so strong, and then they had one really big mistake, bad attention to detail, and put them behind. And there's so little margin for error, especially this season with no non-elimination, something like that. Mm-hmm. You fall behind, especially far behind, it's going to be so hard to catch up. And that was the biggest thing we can point to is when they forgot to drive the car. They were trying to walk.
That's what got them.
And that put them so far behind, and then they just really never, I mean, they held on, they fought and survived a couple legs after that, but that was really being the end for them.
Yeah, agreed.
And that was big attention to detail.
Yep, agreed. I think that's right. All right.
Power rankings.
Yes, moving on to the power rankings. So a little bit of adjustment this week, but I think, as the teams are dwindling down, starting to pay, being a little bit more nitpicky about where they're falling. So starting with team number 6, your winners, Aubrey and David. Mm-hmm. I do not think that they will win, but, they argued a lot this episode, and I think that's the most we've seen a team argue this whole season so far. The navigation was a big problem. Aubrey was having issue with it, and I do think Dave was trying to help her, and she just kind of snapped. She probably just felt the pressure, was lost, couldn't see any signs or anything. Besides that, they did decently on the roadblock and detour. But I think if they can't discuss things better and calmly and get things together, that they're going to struggle with the next leg.
I agree. I think they're they're good at certain tasks, but they're not super athletes. They're not super, they're not like great at like anything really. They've been pretty average. They're kind of an average team. And now that there's only 6 left, I mean, that's the middle of the pack. I mean, I feel like they're a middle of the pack team. And now the only thing left is the middle of the pack. If you finish middle of the pack, now you're out. So I think they're good enough to get here. I think they're probably the 5th I think they're probably the 6th or 7th best team in the race. And I think that's kind of where they fall.
Yeah. And there's only 6 teams left, so they can't be 7th.
Right. I think they're still 7th. I think Glenda and Lumumba were better.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
They just things fell the way they did, and I said these guys they've climbed up. They've done well. But I think second place finish is the best they're ever going to do.
Yeah, for sure.
What else?
We can move on to team number 6, I think.
5?
Or 5? Wow. I have it right in front of me and can't read. Team number 5, the cheerleaders.
Yep, agreed.
So I guess I would say they're also kind of middle of the pack, but they do well with most things. They also don't argue. They get along well. I mean, they were teammates and everything on the Rams when they were cheerleaders there. I don't know. I mean, their skill set seems pretty good and everything else, but I just don't see them getting to the top. They haven't finished first yet. I think they finished in the top 4 before, but they're always in the middle, I guess, and same as Aubrey and David ish.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I think the biggest thing for them is they have a lot of fun with it. They're funny. He was saying they gotta be calm, cool, cute, and collected.
Exactly.
And and I think they have fun together. They don't argue. They don't bicker. But I also don't think they're serious enough.
Yeah, maybe they get the task done, but they're just getting it done. It's just something that they're accomplishing it, but they're not trying to get ahead of other people.
Right. They're playing it safe. They're not trying to, do too much. And like I said, I mean, like with Derek and Claire, they took a chance and it worked out for them. And I don't think these guys would really take a chance. I think they're kind of just like, hey, we'll have some fun and we'll do as good as we can. And that works out sometimes. But it very rarely will translate to a win.
Mm-hmm. They're kind of like, hey.
Exactly.
All right. Moving on to team number 4, Derek and Claire. We've talked before about their background with Big Brother and, being the production and everything. And they definitely do well with the cameras. They do well with the tasks. Like you said, they took a chance this week and switched their detour to try and get ahead of other people. And that definitely worked out for them. They're top 4. I could see them maybe being top 3 and making it to the final episode. They're taking it seriously, but they're also, some of their skill set they don't have when it comes to the roadblocks where they're forced to complete it. And, it's maybe picking the right person for each task. With Derek, they said that memorizing wasn't his strong suit, I think it was, or that he was going to struggle with that. And he ended up doing, I think he did it in 2 or 3, I think. But just picking the right person to complete the task, I think, will be their thing going forward.
Yeah, and they've done pretty well despite not really doing that at all. They haven't really done that once. Mm-hmm. Pick the right person for the task. And so if they did, they'd probably crush it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, because they have Claire putting all the stuff together and when she shouldn't have her.
And yodeling.
Yodeling, exactly.
So, I mean, yeah. So there's different things. I think that if they were once picked the right person to do the task, then they'd crush it. They really haven't done that yet. And like I said, I'd say there's 5 teams I felt strongly had a good shot to win. One of them got knocked out this week, and the other 4 are in the top 4, I think. Right. I don't think it's been, but also I don't really see one team I'm like, oh, they're definitely gonna win. Like they're the front runners. I could see any 4 of these top 4 remaining teams off winning. I don't really see anybody else other than these 4 winning, but there's nobody who I'm like, oh my gosh, they're definitely gonna win. And I don't see anybody going out the 4th either. Like of these 4, I don't see who's gonna be 4th.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I think they're 1A, 1B, 1C. For me,
pretty much.
It's very. Some seasons there's 3 teams, 2 teams, whatever. They're really good. One team that dominates. This season, they're at least the top 4 teams are all very, very similar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're all and they're always finishing around in the same area, and sometimes it just comes down to who gets there first.
I mean, literally this time they're all almost identical to finishing. They're all right there.
All following each other around, getting lost together, and then whoever got there in the order that they got there this week.
For sure, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Next, team 3. My winner pick, who has shocked me, Team Miami.
Yeah, they do well.
I mean, in the beginning of the season, I think they were just trying to get into a groove of everything, maybe. They're just trying to figure things out. But as they got tasks that were working for them, they've done well. They were the only team to finish first back-to-back. And I think the only team to finish first twice. Michael this week. Michael and Marcus. But, they're doing well. I see them in the top 4. But like you said, any of these teams that we have right now could win. I don't know who it is. I don't have a feeling about who is going to win, and I don't see anybody that's like they're doing spectacular. So.
Yeah, and last time they added the show to make it seem like it's close, but I think in this case it legitimately is close.
I do too.
Only thing I'll say about them, you nailed it pretty much. You said they kind of started off kind of slow. I think they started off trying to not be last. And then they finished first a leg, and they're like, oh, we actually can do this. Mm-hmm. And now they're doing it.
Yeah.
They're, I mean, they and it's smart, the first couple legs, just trying to be last, trying to be eliminated. But then they realized, what, we're actually a good team. We actually can do this. And now they've been doing it, and they've been finishing strong. They've been, completing the tasks. They've been, doing everything pretty well. and they're very surprised. They've been surprised me like like that too. And I guess it makes sense that she's a dancer. She's a firefighter. He's strong. She's she's also athletic, but in a different way.
Coordinated and good
Right.
at memorizing things.
All those things, yeah. So they complement each other very, very well. Mm-hmm. So they're definitely a strong team. I would say they could finish fourth. They could win. Like you said, but the biggest thing for me is that they seem to have found their groove.
Yeah.
They seem to have found their confidence, and and now they know, like, hey, you know what, we could. They may not win every single leg, but they're definitely going to be in the running to win every single leg.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed.
What's next?
Moving on, team number 2. So we've had a little bit of adjustment with these next ones. So team number 2 we have this week is Michael and Marcus. I think the reason that I wanted to move them down one is because, this week their attention to detail slipped a little bit. Marcus left the keys up in the tower. He had to go all the way back and go up there and get his items to go back down so they could make their way to the detour. They're still strong. They definitely have the navigation stuff down, but I think the details might start slipping a little bit. It just seems like them getting a little bit sloppy when it comes to some things.
Yep, for sure. And Marcus and Michael, Marcus actually had to go back up there. They ended up leaving the detour 5th and ended up finishing 1st, which is crazy. But I think like they could definitely be butting heads a little bit. Marcus, obviously, Michael was a tank driver or whatever, so he knows how to navigate, and that definitely helped. And they did some, like, this was a very wide swing for them this week. They really did some really bad dumb things, and then they did some really smart good things. So they have a high variance, but they weren't. Even though they won for the leg of the race this week, they actually got bumped down a little bit because they didn't do as flawless of a leg as they had previously. Yet they still somehow found a way to win. The leg. So it's hard to say the team who finishes first gets bumped down a little bit, but I don't think they were the best team this week.
Right. I mean, their strength is definitely navigation, so that's why they finished first.
And they're good at a lot of the tasks, but
Well, yeah, but they still didn't finish the tasks first, though, every time.
Correct.
So the only reason they did get there first is because of the navigation skills that they do have.
and they got a little lost too. But all the other teams got a little more lost, so it's
Right.
not really they did well. It's the other teams did worse.
Right. And yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that they're a bad team. They're doing really well, and they could definitely win this too. But, this week, not to say they have to run a perfect leg every week, but the attention to detail definitely went down a little bit.
And it could have cost them big. It didn't. It
could've.
didn't end up costing them big, but it could
And
have.
even Michael, he started to say that he should have been the one to do the roadblock instead of Marcus. And I don't know if it was because of memorization or anything like that. But, it took Marcus a little bit longer. It could have taken Michael a little shorter time. I don't know. But, a couple of things just went wrong from them this week in combination with other maybe weeks that they've had. And, just went down a little bit this
For sure.
week.
And like I said, I agree with you completely. It's hard to say how a team who finished first could actually go down the power rankings, but I think they did a little bit. And I just think if you look at their overall body of work, if you want to say, where they finished one week compared to where they finished the next week, overall I think they're the second best team right now. But I also don't think they're necessarily the second best odds of winning. I think they may have the best odds of winning. But if you look at consistency, they're probably the second most consistent team.
Well, that's exactly what I was just going to say. When I'm looking at this stuff, it's consistency. Who's staying consistent, and they just weren't consistent today.
For sure. They had a very, very big swing. They were 5th at one point, and then they were 1st. So,
Exactly.
Speaking of first,
First, we now have Molly and Emily.
yes,
So they've stayed more consistent. They definitely dug up from, I think they were 6th. They finished 6th last week. So they dug up to 2nd today. They've definitely stayed consistent with everything. Most tasks they don't struggle with. I'm trying to think of all the previous weeks, but I don't think it's taken them more than 3 times to do something. They work well together. They always seem to be able to pick the person that will be good for the tasks. And that's kind of why I wanted them to be one, maybe a little bit longer than just this week, because they do seem to pick the people that can do it. And even if it isn't, one of the twins hurt themselves, I still want to know which twin is which. I can't tell them apart. The other one took up the task that it would have been better for the other twin, but she still did a really good job, and they kept pushing forward
think
with it.
It was Emily who hurt herself.
I think it was Emily.
And they said, and the thing is, obviously, when they do a roadblock, only one person can do it, and you can't have one person do all of them.
Right.
But they said Emily can do it because it's not a running; it's just repelling, and that's not going to really put much strain on her leg.
Right. Right. And then, I was just thinking too with the building task of that cart. So Molly would have done it, and Emily is the better builder, but she couldn't walk with it. So, even with that, they still finished well.
Yeah. Yeah, they've had a lot of obstacles. They're still doing well. I love what they said too about the.
I was just gonna start talking about that. How what their background. How both in 5th grade they both got in trouble for kissing their boyfriends in the playground or something, and then what was the other one? They both like to eat 2 hard-boiled eggs in the morning. They'll eat the yolk in one and then the yolk of the other. They'll both feed to their dogs, and then I forgot what the other one was. It's just so funny. All the similarities that they grew up and do they do the exact same things, and they didn't know each other. So I just like hearing their story, and I want them to stay on to the end.
Me too. I love their story. I said if nothing else comes out of this show, give me a and not for nothing either, but we're doing, obviously I gotta talk about the fact that we're doing our show a little differently this week, because we usually do Survivor, then the Love Boat's on, and then we do Amazing Race, but no more Love Boat. Love Boat got moved to just Paramount Plus, so now it's Amazing Race. Got moved up an hour, which helps us with our recording schedule, but also messes things up a little bit because we don't have that hour in between to record. But no more Love Boat, so instead of Love Boat next season, give me Survivor, Amazing Race, and the Emily and Molly show.
Yeah, exactly.
And them traveling the world and enjoying adventures together. Mm-hmm. For sure. I don't think they're necessarily even the best team. I mean, they have obviously the leg injury, and they're not as fast because they can't run as fast as everything else, but they're fantastic.
Yeah, no, I like them a lot. I was trying to see if I can look up who exactly was who, but I still can't find it on here. But no, they're definitely one of my favorites, but I really enjoy who's been on there. I can't say there's anybody that I didn't dislike. No. Right. But I think they did a good job with who they casted this year, and I could sign up for the Emily and Molly show. CBS can just do it on Paramount Plus and just do a streaming one, kind of like what they did with the Love Boat. But people will watch this one.
Yeah, right, exactly right.
I think it's good.
For sure, I agree.
I like it.
So they're our team of the week this week. We'll see how they do next week. Anything else, Jessica?
I don't think so. I think we spoke long enough.
I agree. I think it was a great show. I really like the cast. They did a really good job. There's even the characters teams we didn't like, they were entertaining.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
For sure. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. You can like our Facebook page, Pavement Road Prod on Facebook. Email the show directly, pavementroadproductions@gmail.com. Subscribe, share the post, tell your friends. Thanks for commenting. We've had a lot more comments the last few weeks as we have in the past. So I appreciate that. And definitely, yeah. Jessica wants to fight. If you make a bad comment, Jessica will want to fight you.
Be nice.
Jessica will want to throw down.
No, I'm not gonna throw down. I make mistakes. Sometimes I forget the things that go on there. But
it happens. We watch it live once, and that's it. We're not like we're watching it 3 times and taking notes.
Yeah, I don't review it. I don't take that many notes. I took a little bit more this week, but
yeah. But be sure to subscribe so you get everything. Obviously, our Facebook page will have all the shows, and the YouTube channel so you get everything. Obviously, if you like Survivor, you like The Amazing Race, like them both, subscribe so you get everything, and then you can obviously cancel the ones you don't like and just only listen to the ones you like. But obviously, you can hear Jessica's voice on both of them, so that's a good thing too. For now.
I know. It's true. For now. We'll see. I'm sucked in.
It's
trapped in my own house.
It's worked, and it's worked for our schedule for the most part. So.
Yeah, I guess. I suppose.
Anything else, Jessica?
No, I need to get some sleep.
I enjoyed the show. I'm sure you did too.
I did. No, it was a good episode.
Awesome. I think that's it then.
Go Twins. Go everybody.
Minnesota Twins?
No. Not Minnesota Twins. Go team.
Okay.
Teams.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you on that awesome note. Until next time, safe travels.